It was 1944. The Allies were fighting their way back into Europe. Everyone of a certain age has seen pictures of the famous Mulberry Harbours built in the UK and towed over to Normandy. And back home, the Metropolitan line was even getting new trains. Those involved in civil defence and the ARP were finding their war getting quieter. And so, to provide themselves and the local community with some entertainment, a variety show was staged at the Dickinson Institute in Croxley Green. From these theatrical seeds, the Rickmansworth Players were born. While none of the founder members survived from the very beginning, there are a number around who can remember back almost that far.
I was there from 1949 till 1954 when I got married and moved away for a bit.
Joined the Players in 1961 for a production of The Cornies Green as a stage manager, which is really more my forte than anything else at the time.
Came down to see Kiss Me Kate, and my husband, he was also very keen on Amdrams. He said, if we move back to Croxley, can I join Ricky Players? And I said, sure. So we came back, and I've been involved ever since, one way or another.
Nowadays, of course, the Players put on their major shows at the Watersmeet Theatre. Before that, they used the Palace Theatre in Watford. But that type of venue wasn't always the case.
A small stage at Dickinson's Guild House, which is way in the past, and subsequently it burnt down the year Michael and I were married, and we hit the front page with our wedding photograph and the fact that Dickinson's had been burnt down, so that was a bit of a tragedy from the Players' point of view.
During that time I had been secretary, and I'm sure I was secretary when our president joined, Audrey Timberlake, when she joined. I was certainly when David Langley joined.
It was in 1951, and the war hadn't been over all that long, but of course Ricky Players, as you know, had grown out of the civil defence people who did entertainments, and that began in 1944. So 51, it was very young.
Of course, there are many more in the society who've not been around quite so long. Cue a man who chose to be interviewed up a ladder.
When I was about 11, Mum took me to Watersmeet to see West Side Story, where a number of the current membership were in it. So that's probably my first memory of Rickmansworth Players. My next memory of Rickmansworth Players was when I performed in Watersmeet in West Side Story in 2002. And that was my first show all those years ago.
I joined in 2009. The first show I did with them was Sweet Charity. I came on board just to do the one show, and 5 years later I'm still here.
To date, the Players tend to put on 2 shows a year. But in the past, things were different.
We usually did 2 musicals and 2 plays, and festival plays, and so we were busy. We were very busy in those days.
We can't cope with it today because so many people have not a 9-to-5 job, but a totally absorbing job, and we can't get the backstage people. We can get the actors sometimes.
Why can't this damn do-gooder keep his hands off little old news?
One show older members are particularly proud of is the rather unusually named Tenderloin. But how did staging that come about?
We had done Oklahoma, and the chap who played Curly was a major in the American Marines. And we went back to his place and we had barbecues and things there, and he always had this record on, which was something we'd never heard. But we thought it was fascinating and very exciting, you know, to find something absolutely new. My husband was chairman of Ricky Players at the time, and he spent almost 2 years getting permission from the agents in America to get it, and eventually they gave it to us. And we actually did the European premiere, and that was wonderful because we did. We got ourselves on. You won't remember Opportunity Knocks, but it was sort of like, I don't know, Britain's Got Talent or something with Huey Green, and we got ourselves on that.
As well as their major productions, in years gone by the Society also took part in drama festivals and other competitions, travelling all around the country. Sometimes these introduced their own problems.
One particular one, we had a grand piano that was all collapsible, folded up, and we took. So we had to be quite ingenious with these kind of things for the festival plays.
We may moan sometimes about current venues, but some things never change. Back to the Dickinson Institute.
Well, when we worked at Dickinson's, it was just their social centre, and there were no dock doors or any of that sort of thing. And so it was never a get out in the evening. We always went back the next day, and there would be a long line of us. The lorry would be out there in the road, long line of us passing everything through to the people who were loading the lorry. And that was very much a social event. And when we did separate tables, we called it separate trays because the stage was so tiny and the tables were only half tables, and I did props for that, and it was a nightmare. Anyway, that's not the point.
Another aspect of the Society, and a way to raise extra income, is the wardrobe and scenery store.
The wardrobe, when I first joined, Nora Last was the wardrobe mistress, and her house was always festooned with costumes. You couldn't sit anywhere. You had to move something in order to sit down.
We bought the land on which the wardrobe and the scenery hut is situated now, and that was a real challenge for everybody because we had to raise money for that. So we started at what they called a 200 club, where people put in money every month, and then it was drawn like a lottery. It was drawn every month, the prizes. So that helped to raise the money for that. And then some of the players actually dug the foundations for it, physically dug the foundations for it. And then we got a company in to build the actual concrete part of it. And that was the one hut that we're in now, which was built for building the scenery, and there was a tiny room in it which was the wardrobe. Now the whole hut is the wardrobe and the props, and then we built another hut next to it for the scenery, which I think our generation in the Players is very proud of doing that, and it's been a great asset to the Players.
But this was not the first or last time in their history that the Players had gone about fundraising.
We were collecting money by various means to have a new theatre, to build a theatre. And all our money, when eventually the Watersmeet was built, all our money went into the new grand piano. So that was the sum total of what we'd managed to make. But anyway.
Come and see us in the Wedding Singer!
The cast of the 2013 production of The Wedding Singer, with an appearance from the current chairman. What would he say was the highlight of his time with the Society?
Highlight's a difficult word. I think probably my proudest moment was when we performed Wind in the Willows at Watersmeet, because it was a show that was entirely the Society. So everything was done by the Society. We built the set, we made the costumes, everybody in it was a Society member. We had fledgling groups of our youth theatre in there. So there wasn't a youth theatre at that point, but that was where it came from. And even the whole band were Ricky Players. Plus we had a few issues, shall we say, at the get-in and with the set. So actually sorting those out and how well we all pulled together and sorted that out for what was a fantastic production was great.
In 1975, the Players were very proud to put on the first musical in the brand new Gade Theatre at the Watersmeet.